Hello everyone, welcome to N.O.S. Today we'll be talking about certain disorders that are present in the respiratory tract, and one of them is the bronchitis. So from the name we can easily understand that bronchitis, here itis stands for actually inflammation or infection, right? And bronchi stands for bronchi. So bronchi is actually a structure, trunk or tubular structure that is present in our lungs, and it is actually the airway tract. Here in this figure we can see that this is the bronchi, right? And these are the bronchi branches, and they further classify or further branch out into smaller structures known as bronchioles. So the infection and inflammation of these bronchi is actually known as the bronchitis. Now further moving on, we can see that there are actually two types of bronchitis, and these are acute and chronic. So basically in every medical condition we have to understand that chronic is such type of infection which lasts for more than 3 months, and here as well any kind of bronchi infection that lasts for more than 3 months for 2 successive years. For 2 successive years means 2 continuous years, then that is known as the chronic bronchitis. Likewise, for the acute bronchitis, we have got any kind of infection which lasts for less than 3 months is the acute form of the bronchitis. Now, any kind of bronchitis is usually caused, especially in the acute stage, is caused by common cold. We usually have common cold, influenza, common cold, and then influenza, or even the complications of measles or whooping cough. These are all the causes for developing acute form of bronchitis. And because of this viral infection, the normal defense mechanisms or the pathogenic bacteria that is present inside the bronchi, that is depressed, because of which in the respiratory tract these viruses actually multiply in their number, resulting in further developing into the chronic bronchitis. These are actually commonly present in elderly people and children who have their weak immune system, and downward spread of the infection can lead to bronchiolitis and even the bronchopneumonia, especially among the children and the older adults, right? So downward the infection goes into bronchi and the alveoli, further resulting into the bronchopneumonia or even the bronchiolitis, and this especially affects the children and the debilitated or older adults. So for the in case of the chronic, we can see that we have got actually those kind of bronchitis infection which lasts for more than 3 months and it has occurred in the 2 consecutive years, and they are known as a chronic bronchitis. And also we can see that it is actually caused by the prolonged irritation of the bronchial epithelium, meaning that the bronchi has got the epithelium lining in them, and some of the chemicals actually results in their irritation. And when these kind of irritations are present for a prolonged period of time, months and days, weeks and weeks, then finally they can develop into the bronchitis, which is of chronic form. And this is also often worsened with the damp or cold kind of the weather conditions. So what are the different main causes of bronchitis is that we have got smoking. Smoking is actually the primary cause of bronchitis in men. Likewise, the acute bronchitis can further infect the lower branches of the bronchi or the airway tract and result into the chronic form of the bronchitis. And the chronic exposure to airborne irritants can also lead to the bronchitis. Now the changes in bronchi. What are the different changes that can occur in the bronchi because of or the result because of the cause of the bronchitis? So the size and the number of the mucus gland increases, meaning that the mucus gland is lined in this way inside the bronchi, right? This is a normal healthy bronchi. And normally what bronchi does is that it is ciliated. Because of this, it produces mucus. So mucus, what's the function of the mucus is that they have to trap different particles or even different kind of foreign substances. So it helps in this kind of this is the main function of the bronchi and the ciliated mucous membrane in them. However, because of the infection and inflammation of the bronchi, that is bronchitis, the size and number of the mucus glands increases, meaning that they increase in the size now. Because of this, in this figure we can see that the size has increased, as a result of which the airway tract, the size of the airway tract has decreased. Due to this, the main problem with bronchitis is that it affects the airway tract, and it affects the size of the airway tract through which the air passes or flows inside and outside our lungs, due to which the client or the patient could have difficulty in breathing properly. So likewise, there is edema and the inflammatory changes as well. And even the person can have fibrosis of airways. Fibrosis means that there is different fibers, like structures that are surrounding the airway, which are inelastic, meaning that they do not expand or contract, nothing. They just are their structures, and due to which their underlying structures get damaged. And because of all of these kind of the reasons, they develop the breathlessness, or we can even say dyspnea, meaning that they have got very difficult. The patient with bronchitis have very difficulty in breathing properly. We can easily see in the figure here that normally here is where the airway goes and comes out, right? And whenever the mucus size increases and there is fibrosis, there is edema, there is inflammation, meaning that the airway size actually decreases. Because of this, they cannot inhale and exhale as they used to before, but rather in a very less amount. The airway goes out, or the air comes in. Due to this, they develop breathlessness, a very chronic condition in the bronchitis, because of which different complications arise. Now, the different complications that could arise are one of them is simply, if we speak about it, then the ventilation decreases, right? Because they are unable to breathe in and breathe air as a healthy person is able to. Because of which the hypoxic condition arises. Hypoxia is a condition where the oxygen concentration decreases in your body, because the air is not coming in or coming outside your lungs. The carbon dioxide is retained in your lungs, and the oxygen is unable to be provided to your alveoli as per the requirement, because of which the gaseous exchange is also affected, right? And as a result of which the hypoxic condition develops. Likewise, the pulmonary hypertension is developed. We know that lungs and heart are connected with one another, based on which their pulmonary artery plus veins. So whenever there is any kind of defect in the gaseous exchange in the lungs, whenever this is affected, then at the same time the heart is also affected, right? And whenever the heart is affected, we have got different kind of the conditions or complications are developed, and one of them is the pulmonary hypertension. And as a result of which there is right-sided heart failure, means that the right ventricle is affected because of the pulmonary hypertension, and finally the right-sided heart failure is developed in the clients. So now we know that the different complications of bronchitis are actually resulted from the lack of ventilation process in the client. So now further we can elaborate this into what are the different complications, or further in detail complications of bronchitis is that there is respiratory failure. When there is ventilation decline, means we have got the respiratory failure. right? Now the arterial blood oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen also decreases, right? Because of which the hypoxemic conditions arises, because of which, because the gaseous exchange process is actually affected because of the bronchitis, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide also decreases in them, in the blood the partial pressure of carbon dioxide increases, the partial pressure of oxygen decreases, because of which the hypoxemic condition arises, because the body lacks, has decreased oxygen, whereas the carbon dioxide level increases in the blood. Why? Because the lungs is unable to expel out the carbon dioxide properly from the alveoli. Why? Due to the inflamed condition of the bronchi. Yeah. And now the hypercapnia results. Hypercapnia is actually the condition through in which the client has higher concentration of carbon dioxide in the blood, and because of which they try to compensate the our respiratory system try to compensate this hypercapnic condition by hyperventilating. However, due to this reason, the clients with bronchitis are usually always tired, and because they lack oxygen in their blood, as well as they have to hyperventilate all the time in order to maintain their respiratory equilibrium. And because of this, in the severe cases, we have seen that the inflammatory changes further develop into the or spread into the bronchiole and the alveoli, resulting in emphysema. So now when the inflammation spreads into the alveoli, alveoli, and it also becomes inflamed, then this condition is known as emphysema. So now this results in emphysema, and finally it results into the COPD, that is the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, meaning that we have got chronic obstruction of the pulmonary system or our respiratory system because of the infection, inflammation, edema, and the fibrosis of the airways. So in this way, as a whole complete, the bronchitis occurs. So in summary, we can see that here actually we can see that this is the lungs, and we have got bronchi here. This is the trachea, and this is the bronchi, right? And bronchi has actually branched off into different minor structures, also known as the bronchioles. And finally we have got the alveoli here. And in this structure we can see that this is the normal bronchi. It has got mucus glands which helps to secrete mucus in order to trap different foreign particles in the air so that it does not reach into the alveoli of the lungs. So they secrete the mucus, and they are also ciliated. However, because of different reasons, it may be smoking, it may be because of the chemical irritants, or it may be because of acute bronchitis being repeated time and again, it can cause the chronic bronchitis development. And whenever there is chronic bronchitis development, then the number of the mucus gland increases. Likewise, there occurs the edema, there occurs the infection and then inflammation, there occurs the fibrosis. And due to all of these reasons, what happens is that the bronchi, the airway tract bronchi size, or the diameter through which the air goes inside or outside, decreases. And due to this, the client is unable to intake the air or expel out the air from their lungs properly, because of which the whole system of the respiratory actually becomes dysregulated, meaning that they are unable to maintain their ventilation properly. As a result of which, the client develops a symptom known as the breathlessness or dyspnea, where they try to breathe properly but they have shallow breathing, meaning that they are unable to breathe or inhale deeply as like that of the healthy person. As a result of which, different complications develop. These complications mainly arise because of the inability of the patient with chronic bronchitis to inhale oxygen properly and exhale the carbon dioxide adequately. As a result of which, the client develops a condition called as the hypoxia, where the blood concentration of oxygen declines and the body tissues or the cells, different parts of the body are unable to attain oxygen as per the demand, developing the condition of hypoxia. Likewise, the carbon dioxide gets trapped inside the alveoli or the lungs, resulting in the condition of the hypercapnia. And eventually, the infection further spreads into the bronchioles and the alveolar sac, causing the development of another condition known as the emphysema. And furthermore, this can develop into the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. When this bronchitis is prolonged for the long duration of time, then it can lead to numerous kinds of the complications, one of them being pulmonary hypertension and finally leading to the right-sided heart failure, especially because lungs and heart are very interlinked with one another. One affects the other in very simultaneous manner. So we have to be very careful about the clients who have got the condition of bronchitis in them. So this is what bronchitis is about, and further management and its nursing considerations will be discussed in the next lecture regarding the emphysema. Thank you.